In the weeks leading up to yesterday's pivotal election, a disturbing trend has emerged across the United States. Acts of violence, vandalism, and intimidation allegedly committed by fervent supporters of former President Donald Trump. Amid heightened partisan tensions and deep-seated grievances, these actions reveal how dangerously divided the nation has become. What's most troubling is not just the isolated nature of these attacks, but their prevalence and intensity across multiple states. From threats and assaults at polling stations to property destruction aimed at intimidating political opponents, it seems that a new wave of election-related aggression is sweeping through America. As Americans prepare to cast their ballots, many are wondering what lies ahead. Could this be the new normal? A climate where political rivalry turns into personal hostility and elections bring about violence rather than unity? This article will explore the rise in pre-election hostilities, providing detailed accounts of the reported incidents and analyzing their broader implications. Through a comprehensive look at what has unfolded, we'll try to understand the psychological and social drivers behind this aggression and discuss what it could mean for the future of democracy in America. Section 1. The Pennsylvania rally incident, defacing a car in the name of politics. One of the most shocking incidents occurred in Pennsylvania over the past weekend, specifically at a rally organized in support of Vice President Kamala Harris. The event was meant to provide a platform for Harris supporters to rally for their candidate peacefully. However, things took a dark turn when, on the evening before the event, a Trump supporter entered the parking lot where attendees had parked their cars. Targeting a vehicle that displayed Harris bumper stickers and pro-Harris slogans, the individual spray-painted derogatory messages on the car. One of the graffiti slogans scrawled across the side read, "Harvest 24, a misspelled attempt to write Harris 24, along with a scrawled message of low IQ on the other side. It was a sloppy and hastily executed defacement, but the vandals' intentions were clear: to intimidate and shame the vehicle's owner for their political views. Not content with just defacing the car, the attacker reportedly picked up a cinder block, hurling it through the vehicle's windows with brute force, leaving shattered glass across the seats and interior. And yet, that wasn't enough. The vandal decided to go one step further by setting the vehicle on fire. The flames consumed not only the car, but also valuable original artworks that the vehicle's owner, an artist, had kept inside. These pieces were described as unique creations, works that represented months of labor, creativity, and personal expression. This act of vandalism thus became an assault not just on property, but on art and personal freedom, a heartbreaking outcome of an already senseless crime. This attack, however, is not an isolated incident. It is symptomatic of a larger, troubling trend of aggression and harassment that has escalated as political partisanship in the United States has intensified. Section 2. Intimidation tactics at polling stations across Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, the vandalism incident at the rally was not the only instance of harassment in Pennsylvania. Just a few days earlier, reports surfaced of another Trump supporter, identified as Val Biancanello, allegedly causing disruptions at a polling station. According to police reports, Canello was removed from the line by local authorities after accusations that she was harassing other voters. Eyewitnesses claimed that her behavior included yelling and attempting to intimidate those she believed were not Trump supporters. Pennsylvania, a pivotal swing state, has long been a focal point of national political interest. It is not uncommon for political tensions to run high here, but what is unique about this election cycle is the frequency and intensity of these confrontations. Polling station workers, many of whom are volunteers, have faced challenging situations as they attempt to maintain peace and order in the face of increasingly belligerent voters. In a separate incident, an elderly poll worker in Pennsylvania was physically attacked by another Trump supporter after the worker asked the individual to remove his MAGA hat, a standard request in accordance with the prohibition of campaign apparel inside polling locations. The elderly worker suffered injuries after being punched by the supporter who refused to comply with the rules. This pattern of violence aimed at poll workers, those tasked with facilitating the democratic process, sends a chilling message about the fragility of civic duties in a hyper-partisan environment. Section 3. Violence and threats in Florida. Elderly women and minority workers targeted. Florida, a state that has seen its fair share of political drama over the years, has not been immune to these tensions either. In one particularly troubling case, a 17-year-old Trump supporter allegedly punched an elderly female Harris supporter simply because she held different political views. The punch left the woman physically injured and emotionally shaken, highlighting the willingness of some to resort to violence over mere differences in opinion. In yet another incident in Florida, an 18-year-old Trump supporter was reportedly seen waving a machete at a group of Harris supporters who were canvassing in support of the vice president. Witnesses described the young man swinging the weapon and making verbal threats, attempting to intimidate those gathered and prevent them from sharing their political message. Such actions raise severe concerns about the lengths to which some individuals are prepared to go to silence opposing viewpoints. Florida authorities are reportedly investigating the incident, but it serves as a reminder of the extreme measures being taken by some to suppress the voices of political opponents. The frequency of these incidents in Florida, coupled with the aggressive behaviors seen in Pennsylvania, suggests that these are not isolated cases, but rather part of a larger trend. The involvement of young people in these aggressive acts also points to the disturbing spread of radicalization among the younger demographic, an issue that demands urgent attention. Section 4. The role of political rhetoric in fueling hostility. As we analyze these incidents, it's crucial to understand the role of rhetoric in inciting such behaviors. Politicians have a profound impact on public sentiment, and their words often shape the beliefs and actions of their followers. For years, Donald Trump has employed a divisive style of speech, often framing his opponents as enemies of the people or portraying the media as the enemy of the state. This language, while galvanizing to his base, has also had a polarizing effect on the country, contributing to a sense of US versus them that makes compromise or mutual respect seem out of reach. Political scientists and psychologists alike warn that such divisive rhetoric can create what is known as moral licensing, where followers feel justified in committing aggressive or illegal actions because they believe they are defending a noble cause. When political leaders fail to condemn violent acts, or worse, when they appear to condone them, the threshold for acceptable behavior is dangerously lowered, leading to situations like those we are now witnessing. Section 5. The broader implications for democracy. The wave of violence and intimidation seen in recent weeks doesn't just threaten the safety of individuals, it poses a direct challenge to democratic norms. Free and fair elections depend on the ability of all citizens to express their views and vote without fear of retribution or intimidation. When supporters of one side feel emboldened to intimidate or harm those of another, it erodes the very foundation of democratic society. These actions also have a chilling effect on political participation. When people fear violence or harassment for expressing their political beliefs, they may choose to stay silent, avoid attending rallies, or refrain from voting altogether. This self-censorship is a severe blow to democracy, as it prevents the true will of the people from being represented in elections. The events leading up to this election have painted a disturbing picture of America's political climate. From acts of vandalism to violent assaults at polling stations, the reported incidents serve as a sobering reminder of the destructive potential of unchecked partisan anger. What should be a time for Americans to come together, exercise their civic duty, and choose their leaders peacefully has instead become an alarming display of division and hostility. These incidents underscore an urgent need for leaders, law enforcement, and citizens alike to take a stand against political violence. It is crucial that law enforcement is prepared to protect voters and polling stations, ensuring that democracy can proceed unhindered. Politicians, too, bear responsibility. They must reject and condemn any form of violence or intimidation from their supporters, setting an example for the kind of behavior that is acceptable in a democratic society. As the election continues to unfold, It is essential for the American public to remember the core principles that underpin democracy: respect, tolerance, and the peaceful transfer of power. Political disagreements will always exist, but they must be handled through debate and dialogue, not through violence. If America is to move forward, it must do so together, finding common ground and committing to protect the rights and safety of every citizen, regardless of political affiliation. Only by upholding these values can the nation hope to preserve its democratic institutions for future generations.